Dr. Wally Wilkerson. I'm the county chairman, and welcome to this event. And we're very privileged and excited to have our railroad commissioner, Christy Craddock, be here with us. Christy Craddock is the forefront of the U.S. wave of conservative leadership roles in Texas. She was raised in a strong conservative household, retained as legal counsel by prominent Texas firms, and shaped by more than a decade as a trusted political advisor. Craddock has set a clear standard of integrity, self-reliance, and innovation in her position as chairman at the Railroad Commission. And your chairman is old enough to be a friend of her father, former Speaker Craddock, and it was always an honor and a privilege to be around him. So I think Christy takes that to her. So at this time, it's a pleasure for me to invite Christy to come up and tell us about her campaign.
Thank you all, and thank you all for coming out. And so I will say my father's been around for a long time, but Wally's been around longer in this Republican fight. And it is a fight as we're talking about it right now. So thank you all for what you're doing. Thank you for coming out tonight. And it's time to come together as Republicans, and it doesn't matter if you like our ticket, you gotta vote for our ticket. So it's an important cycle. You're going to hear from some other gentlemen who've got some different perspectives right behind me, but let me say this is a statewide, and I'm in day 2 of a 3-day tour of the state, and we are in day, I don't know, city 3 or something. Houston's has its own issues. Y'all are in a nice little bubble up here, so to speak, in Montgomery. Dallas has its own issues. And it's really, really important that every vote gets out. And so we're focusing this cycle, believe it or not, on the rural communities and what I call the regions outside of the big cities, because that's who's going to vote. That's who votes for Republicans. And so if you think, and I always like to give the history lesson of the day, so this is ours, and let's look back. Well, you'll remember this. The first person who got elected as a Republican on the statewide ticket? John Tower, yes sir. And then we didn't have anybody again for about 10 years, if you'll think about it. But guess where we started picking off some people? In the judicial races. So what's going on today? They think they've got the candidate, right? The Senate candidate sitting out there, Beto, who's real nice, and he's really charismatic, and he's good looking, but he says nothing. He's not for anything that we're for, and he says nothing. So, and then they're coming back for our judges. So just south of here in Harris County, they've already lost half the courthouse. They lose the other house, they lose this cycle, they've lost the entire courthouse in Harris County if we don't get votes out. That's scary. We've got 4 courts of appeals at risk in this state. We have Supreme Court justices at risk in this state, and everybody on the top of the ticket has a Democrat opponent. They're coming. And if you don't think they're coming now, if they get an inch, in 2 years in a presidential cycle, they're all the way in. So, we all know, sitting in this room, so goes Texas, so goes the rest of the country, this is the battle, and we're sitting in the middle of it. So I'm going to challenge everybody in this room to do something, and it's hard for all of us. We got to stop being nice Southerners. And talk about, we don't have to talk about religion, you can leave that at the door, but it's time to go talk to our friends about politics. Even people we don't like. Even people we aren't sure of. We've got to go recruit our people and explain to them what we're for. We've been nervous about talking as Republicans what we're for. And I know there are a bunch of Republican women in here, and y'all do the job for us a lot. But we've got to go find new friends and remind the millennials, remind the folks that have been co-opted by the Hillary Clintons and the Beto O'Rourkes, that we actually have the values in this state that the whole country wants. We don't mind if you've moved into the state, but don't bring your California values with you. And so it's time. So when you look at my campaign, statewide, everybody's nervous, and we should be. It's a big state. We've lost Travis County, that's enough said, right? Dallas County's gone the wrong way. Harris County's gone the wrong way. El Paso we've never had. Tarrant is the only big county that we have that is a Republican county that's in the Metroplex. This county is strong, and it's important for this county to be strong. Fort Bend teeters back and forth. And you go to the Valley, and we frankly have some real opportunity in the Valley, but we aren't there yet. And the only bright spot in the last few months has been we won a Senate seat, Senator, in San Antonio and West Texas, where Senator sitting the Republicans. First time in 139 years we've won that seat. Opportunity. But it's important to get our people out. So, when we start voting in 2 weeks, and I'm getting the countdown for the month that we've got left, but when we're voting in 2 weeks, get your friends to the ballot box, but also get your not so many friends to the ballot box. Because this is an every vote counts across the state. I'm telling you, if they take one, they're going to come take us all. And this is a really scary time for the state. Our values are at risk, and if we don't do it this time, I'm telling you, they're coming. And so I'm going to tell you a quick story about Beto, because I think it's important for you to understand the perspective if you haven't seen him live. And I'm not talking Ellen DeGeneres, I mean seen him live. My brother lives across the street from a film director named Robert Rodriguez. Some of you may know Spy Kids or a few movies he's done. And I said to my brother after this conversation, I said, does he know who you are? And he goes, no, I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to go tell him. Well, great, so it's nice. But about 2 weeks ago now, Beto was going to have an event at Robert Rodriguez's house. 400 people. Now, I appreciate this is Travis County, but 400 people were going to show up. And so Robert had 40 car parkers and was going around to his neighbors to be nice and invite them, because, you know, if you're going to have 400 people at a party, you at least ought to invite your neighbors. And my brother said, thank you very much, I think I'll decline. And so, but my brother's office overlooks his back alley and overlooks the party. So out of curiosity, he went up and watched to see who was coming in. He said he knew about a third of the people, maybe up to half. They were his friends. People that he does business with, people they know in the neighborhood. And it wasn't just to go see Robert's house, which is a cool house, but it's because they were there for Beto. And he said Beto's out in his jeans and his button-down shirt and his tennis shoes, kind of his now outfit, right? Working the crowd, talking to people, glad-handing. They said then my sister-in-law joined him, and they watched from, again, the office, because they have a full view of the backyard, and listened to Beto's speech. And they both said, if we weren't die-in-the-rule Republicans, we would have voted for the man. He's got a great message, he's charismatic, he's on point for what people our age want to hear. And this community, because people are tired of the fighting, right? And I said, well, will he say what he was for? He said, no. He's not for anything. And that's what we've got to remind people. He's not for what I'm for. He's not for anything, actually. He's for everybody, which is the Obama message, right? But he's not for anything. So think about it. You've got two people who are going to vote right. But had they not known any better, they would have voted the other way. So that's where we are today. Don't assume that your kids, your grandkids, your friends all know what we're about. We've allowed people to co-opt our message, like Wendy Davis and Hillary Clinton. The corporate, the big national media, and we forget to tell people our values. The values are Texas values. The values are good conservative values. So this is an important cycle all the way up and down the ballot. Don't forget to go all the way down. And by the way, this is the last time to push the button. So just tell people to push the button. And push red, by the way. Don't tell them to push for Democrats. No blue. Go ahead and tell them to push Republicans. This is the last cycle for that. It's real easy. If not, then go vote every single person. But 77 people on the ballot in Harris County, about 50-something on in Travis County. That's a long way down. It's just easier to push the button. But if they won't do it, go get educated and get your friends to the ballot. This is important in the cycle. So I appreciate what y'all are doing. Thank y'all for coming out tonight. Let's join together, because this is going to be important long term. Thank y'all for the support, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you for being here. We're going to go on now with our program, and I'd like to call on our Justice of Peace, Precinct 1, for giving us the opening prayer. Mr. Mack.
If y'all just want to stay here at the convention center tonight, I'll serve you breakfast in the morning. Thank y'all for being here. Father, we thank you, Lord, for this day and this beautiful time that we live in, to be able to let our light shine, to stand up, to talk about your goodness, about your grace, your mercy. We live in the greatest nation in the world. And we pray, God, that we don't take for granted our freedoms that we have. We're thankful for everyone that's here today and all of our elected officials that are willing to stand and believe in our Constitution. We thank you for your goodness, for your love and your mercy. Bless us, oh God, we pray. We pray for our nation, we pray for our state, and we pray for our county, and ask God that your will would be done, and that goodness and mercy will prevail in all things. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Judge Mack. This time I'd like to call on the former president of Young Republicans, Gary Henson, to lead us in the pledges.
Please join me as we pledge to the greatest country in the world. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now to the greatest state in the greatest country in the world. Honor
On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Gary. Well, I feel bad about the next speaker because he had to come all the way from Washington, D.C. just to be able to be here with us. And those of us that are here know our congressman very well. There's very little that I can say that you don't already know, except that in my political career, hearing the words "I will" from our Congressman Kevin Brady so many years ago, when we had a Democrat state rep representing the Woodlands. And I met Kevin, and he was in the Chamber of Commerce business at the time. And I said, "You're an ideal candidate to take on this Democrat and be elected the state rep as a Republican." Well, he thought about it, I think, for a considerable period of time. And then one day, the phone rang, and the answer made my political career. And he said, "I will be a candidate for state representative." And the reason I was convinced that Kevin would be successful, that he would not be just a single vote, he would be somebody that would bring others along with him. And what could be more true than where he is today as chairman of the Ways and Means Committee in Washington. It's our honor and privilege to welcome Kevin back to his home, Conroe. Kevin Brady.
I didn't feel old until Wally's told that story. I used a comb back then, if I recall, so those were good times. First, I know Chairman Craddock had to leave, but Christy's doing such a great job for us. And in around the country, you put together someone like Christy, her leadership and energy, and you match that with Rick Perry as our energy secretary, and man, Texas is really leading the way in energy and utilities and all that, so we're really blessed to have a leader like her. We're also blessed to have leaders like Robert Nichols. Thanks for look, you play such a key role in Austin on transportation infrastructure and so many other areas. But you too cover how many counties?
19.
150 counties, I think is what he said, and do it so effortlessly. So, Senator, thanks for all that you do. We're fortunate to have really great elected officials in Montgomery County. Dr. Wally, you've taken our county from being 0 for 30 in our local races for Republicans to 30 and 0. I would have not got elected state representative, certainly would have never won those 4 elections for Congress in 1 year, but for your support, Montgomery County's support, our Republican women, our grassroots. We didn't have the money, we just had support. So Wally, thank you very much for all that you do. To Judge Craig Doyle, to Judge Wayne Mack, I saw Constable Cash here, others, thank you for the great job you're doing here at home. So I think America's back. Because of our president, Trump, America's back in a big way. And you can see it all throughout the country. And now, because of this new job, and I'm proud to be the 3rd Texan in history to lead the Ways and Means Committee. But traveling the country now, speaking out for our House candidates and making the case for the Trump agenda. Look, everything's changed. This economy is back in a big way. I mean, in less than a year, we've gone from a nation asking where are the jobs to now we're asking where are the workers. Because every business of every size all across the country is starved for workers. We've got opportunity for families and the underdogs in our society we've never had in decades. Main Street optimism is at a 45-year high. American manufacturing, the most skeptical of all the industries, because for decades all they did was see their jobs go overseas. They saw their headquarters go overseas, they saw the facilities go overseas, but now the opposite is happening. So optimism among American manufacturers, Jim, is at the highest level in 2 decades, and here's a really great number, 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 American and Texas manufacturers today, as we sit here, they're hiring more, they're paying more, they're growing more. Right now, because of the leadership of President Trump, both in giving us a new tax code built for growth, and also because he's brought a pro-business approach to government that's been missing, as we know, for 8 long years. And so it is making a huge difference. Our military is back. So he signed the largest funding and rebuilding of America's military in a decade and a half. And so, yeah, our country isn't, our troops, they aren't fighting with one hand tied behind the back anymore. They're getting the training equipment, the readiness, the family support, the pay raises they deserve. And I think more importantly, he's followed that up with really strong foreign policy. So around the world, America's word means something again. Yeah, when he says it, he means it. And the rest of the world knows it as well. And I think we're safer because of it. President Reagan, who we've all long admired, led peace through strength. That's exactly what President Trump is doing as well in a big way. Boy, he's reshaping his course, isn't he? In such a positive way. So no longer will the Supreme Court or those federal appeals courts just be a legislature for the left. No more. Now we have constructions. People who really, who read the Constitution and understand it. And it is going to be a legacy. We always hope, you and I, that what we do will make a difference on our kids and grandkids. Well, what President Trump is doing in the courts will do exactly that in a positive way for our country. I don't think he gets the credit for being as pro-life and pro-family as he is. Not only did he end the practice of using, look, whether you're pro-choice or me, strongly pro-life, we've always agreed as a country you don't use taxpayer dollars for abortion, here or abroad. That's always been the case until President Obama. Well, President Trump reversed that to make sure that when President Obama reversed it, we've struggled as a nation in major ways. And so in the first week in office, President Trump reversed the policy, so no longer will your federal tax dollars go abroad to encourage abortions, or changing countries' laws to encourage it around the world. He expanded that 15-fold. He now, states that choose, like Texas, not to give federal or local tax dollars to Planned Parenthood. It always been attacked when they did it. You know, through executive order, now states finally have the ability to direct their dollars to healthcare alternatives, community and women's centers, but actually provide family planning around the country. We've worked with him in the tax code as well. We passed it through the House, not just once, but a couple weeks ago for a second time. For the first time, we've changed the tax code to allow families to start saving for education the minute they find out we're pregnant. So that unborn child, for the first time in history, we can set up savings accounts for them and begin saving for their future from the moment we know that baby is conceived and coming to our family. Yeah, huge changes in all this. On healthcare, again on healthcare, look, he helped lead, and we put it in the tax reform bill to end the individual mandate. So no American will ever be forced to buy healthcare they don't want and they can't afford. No more. It's a middle-class tax cut for Texans. For the 1 million American Texans, just Texans, 1 million, who opted out of Obamacare or paying penalties and fines because this healthcare they can't use. It does not work for them. No longer will they be forced to buy it or penalized if they don't. We repealed Obamacare taxes that this president has signed, and he's come out with good alternatives, allowing small businesses to join together so that we can get lower healthcare costs like the big guys can get. And more recently, he just put in place these short-term plans about a year or so. It's an alternative for small business people who need affordable care, for someone who's retiring ahead of age 65 and they need 2 or 3 years of that sort of transition to affordable health care. That's what this president is bringing to this country. And again, he gets no credit for any of these remarkable things. I'm really proud to have worked with him on a number of these areas. It's been a delight. On tax reform, I wish you would have been with me through that process. It is the hardest challenge of any generation to completely rewrite the tax code, modernize it, make fairer, simpler, lower rates for families, the lowest new small business deduction for our Main Street businesses, redesign the code so our local companies can compete and win anywhere in the world, especially here at home in America. You know, he played such a critical role, the leadership role. He shoved that door open. We dove through it because you only get one shot a generation. We have a president willing to lead on that. So we've got a lot of work to do. I know you know tax reform is fully in place and driving this economy, but we also, before we left, a week before last, the House passed Tax Reform 2.0. So we're making permanent those tax cuts for families and small businesses. The Democrats can't take it back. We are changing the tax code so that it's easier for businesses to offer savings plans to their workers and easier for workers to take them. We're not a nation of savers. We need to be. And in 2.0 are some really great incentives to help younger people save earlier. For the first time, if you want to work longer in life, at 70 and a half, you can keep saving. Today, in the current law, you can't. And for the first time, if you save and you get to 70 and a half years old, so we're going to start making sure you don't have to take savings out of your accounts at 70 and a half like you do today. We're starting with the first $50,000 of savings. We aim to increase going in the future, but just good common sense things. The other things we're doing in education, I really was proud to work with Ted Cruz on expanding our savings accounts for education. They're called 529s. We have them for our two kids. But we expanded to make sure we could go not just through college savings, but K through 12, private and public schools. And we passed out of the House, expanding that so you can use that savings for homeschooling. We just did that again 2 weeks ago. Really important. We're going to allow families to save for apprenticeships and training because we need more of those skilled workers in America. And my son, Will, who you've seen grow up, from a little boy, just started his first full-time job as a welder in a family-owned business over in Magnolia. He showed up at, on August 1st, showed up at 8 o'clock in the morning. By 11 o'clock, he was on the road to Lufkin for 25 days straight, getting up at 7:30 in the morning, or 4:30 in the morning, working until 4:30. Loves every minute of, we need more of those skilled workers, and now we're going to be able to save for them. Other things we can do under 2.0, for the first time, if you got those savings, you can use it for college debt, so that your young person can get a little better head start when they head into that first job. And then something that I worked hard on, that I'm proud of. So for the first time, if you having that new baby, or adopting as we did, is one of the biggest moments in your lives. It can also be expensive. So for the first time, families in America, when they welcome that new child through birth or adoption, will be able to, if they need to, access their 401k or retirement account to pay for those medical expenses, or that new medical equipment if you've got special needs, or if you simply want to stay home for a couple months with your child. For the first time, more moms and more dads are going to have access to that, and that's as important to the working mom as to the staying home mom. So these are changes, family-friendly changes we're making with this president. I'm also really proud to support him in rebuilding our military. It's so important. Welfare reform, we passed out of the Ways and Means Committee this summer, the first reforms of our welfare system since Newt Gingrich did it in 1996. And yeah, it's good stuff. We're ready to go. And also, you didn't read much about it, but it is, these are real reforms to move people from the sidelines back into work in really smart ways. The other thing is, you didn't read about this, but we passed the first structural reforms of the Internal Revenue Service in 2 decades. So we are reining in the abuses of the IRS, redesigning the taxpayer-first agencies. Yeah, reining in the abuses, creating a taxpayer-first agency, putting you and I as taxpayers on the same level as those IRS agents, so that we're no longer assumed to be guilty until proven innocent. So big change in the IRS. I think there's a very good shot we get that to the president's desk by the end of the year. And then the opioids package we just passed is going to be so helpful to families and communities struggling with opioids. It affects everyone. I was at a town hall with the chamber, condo chamber. They're up in Washington right now. That's where I was with them this morning. And I was pulled aside after the town hall. And this woman showed me her 24-year-old daughter, beautiful young woman, who lost her life to opioids. The addiction, the depression, the damage. Those lives like that are right all throughout the country. This president, this Republican Congress, has delivered the biggest package of opioid reform to stop the overprescribing, to do the education and prevention, and as important, get the treatment when you're home. So big changes to help families and guard our young people who are going through, we think, some tough times. The Democrats want to turn it all back. They want to go back to bad old days, where our economy was stuck in first gear, where young people coming out of school, their chances were slim to none. Our jobs were going overseas. Do you remember every week we read about a new American company moving something out of America, somewhere, China, Europe, Mexico, Canada, all of that, that's ended. They want to go back to those days. They, as we saw in the last few weeks, too many in the Democrat Party, not all, but way too many, have really dissolved into a party of hatred and intolerance and mob rule and violence and harassment. That's what they're offering to the American people. We offer something so much more positive and so much more hopeful for this country. And I know Nancy Pelosi, she's measuring the drapes up in Washington, D.C. in Congress. Look, and under that speakership, we're going to see higher taxes and weaker borders. They're going to make a big push to abolish ICE, the only law enforcement agency completely dedicated to enforcing the law against immigration here in the United States, huge for Texas. They're pushing an energy tax to drive up energy costs and really steal money from middle-class families. You're going to see higher healthcare costs, weaker defense, weaker borders, and their focus will be on impeaching this president and impeaching Judge Kavanaugh. That's the Pelosi agenda. That's the Beto O'Rourke agenda for America as well. We have to not, the whole reason for coming here tonight, and if you don't remember anything else I say, it is that the battle for America in our future is happening in the suburbs. If you look around the country, every battle we've got, whether it's the Senate level or in the House, every battle we've got, whether it's in Pennsylvania or California, now Dallas, now Houston, Twin Cities, everywhere, every battle is in the suburbs. And that battle is here in Montgomery County, and it's coming here to Montgomery County. We need to unite here in our county. We are the Republican stronghold. We are the seawall against that blue wave in this state. Senator Cruz is counting on us, just counting on us to overperform, not underperform. Overperform and move big numbers so that he can withstand the onslaught that's going on around the rest of the state. Beto O'Rourke, what Chairman Craddock said was right, that he is so wrong for Texas. And we saw this in the hurricane recovery funding. So Texas, we were tested, and we survived the largest natural disaster in American history, right here. And the whole world saw us working together in our boats, in our trailers, helping people regardless of race and color, political views. Nothing mattered, just helping neighbors, helping each other in a big way. We couldn't do it all by ourselves, and so we joined forces in the House with the Florida delegation to secure the largest disaster funding in American history, $146 billion. Senator Cruz was there all the time. He was a champion for that funding. And guess who voted against Hurricane Harvey relief 5 times? Right. Beto O'Rourke. Beto O'Rourke. And I saw his excuses for it. One of them was my bill, providing the tax relief for charitable organizations to be able to rebuild your home, to be able to hire small businesses to keep workers instead of laying them off during those tough economic times. You voted against that twice. And I read the excuses, and they don't ring true. None of them ring true. And the bottom line is there any excuse good enough to turn your back on Harvey victims? Anywhere. The answer is no. So look, I know we've got a big challenge to win these races and stop that blue wave, but if there is any county in Texas that is more than capable of doing it, it's us. Challenges like this. We have big numbers, we have motivated folks, we have grassroots and great officials, and so today, let's just repledge to each other that we are going to do everything we can to turn out our friends, to turn out our neighbors, and make sure Texas remains Republican for generations to come. God bless you. Thank you very much.
We all thank you, Congressman Brady, for your service to our nation and our county. We appreciate it very much. I know from experience there are times when you wonder if anybody appreciates you, but we all do. Thank you very much.
That's in my family, Wally.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to have a little sing-along here, and our singer has a kind of a rough voice tonight, but he's willing to try to sing, to lead us in deep in the heart of Texas.
All right.
Jim,
Let's go. All right, let's stand up loud, Jim. Yeah, let's stand up. Yeah. You can't sit down, sing. Deep in the heart of Texas, so. All right. Let's get clapping.
Jim, your voice sounded wonderful. Well, we have a special treat tonight as our final speaker, and it's always a pleasure to have him here. He hardly ever comes to Montgomery County when he doesn't come by the headquarters to say hello. And I appreciate his support and all he does for our county. And it's a real pleasure for me to introduce our state senator, Robert Nichols.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to have as gracious of a speech as Chairman did, but I will tell you, it is a real honor to be at the podium that he has touched. Your tax reform, you call it tax cut bill, was incredible. It was one of the largest, most impactful bills of that type I can recall in my lifetime. And I'm just honored to be up here at the podium that you were with. Many of you may not realize that ever since I've been in the Senate, Congressman Brady and I have shared several counties together. It's not just Montgomery County, we have several counties together. And I had an opportunity to meet with him in some of those other counties. At redistricting, they changed it up on him a little bit. And those counties that he no longer is in, really miss you, sir. Like over in Orange County, Liberty County, they still talk about you. Fortunately, Dr. Babbins came in and is doing a good job, so we're very proud of you. And you had Christy Craddock, chairman of the Railroad Commission here just a second ago, and I will tell you, she is tough. She is one tough lady. I've known her parents, gosh, since George W. Bush first ran for president. I went out to Orange, California, worked the phone banks. I don't remember whether it was 99 or whatever year that was. And I was working the phone, talking to those Californians, trying to tell them why they needed to elect a Texan as president. And right next to me was her dad, Tom Craddock, and Nadine. And I got to know them quite well out there. But the particular, the Railroad Commission has nothing to do with railroads, for those of you who are not that familiar with it. It really needs to be the oil and energy agency of the state of Texas. That is what it is. And we have got a miracle on our hands here in Texas. We really do. She is the right person at the right time out there. I've been on finance for a number of years. In the particular area of the budget that deals with the Public Utility Commission, I'm the chair of that work group. And I will tell you, she knows her stuff. She comes in there, she knows it, she knows what's critical. She knows the difference between an ask and a need. And we're wrestling with one of the largest oil finds in world history. Not just Texas history, U.S. history, but world history, that has put our state on a level way past Saudi Arabia and some of those countries, but it has led us to the first time since Jimmy Carter days, when we were totally energy dependent upon many of these Middle Eastern countries, to a level that we can protect ourselves. We do not have to have their oil like we once did and be required to do the kind of things that we've done to make sure our country can go. So just the fact that we are energy dependent as a nation is very important to me. But the Texas Miracle, as it's called, creating most of the jobs, creating all this kind of economic activity that's occurring is not an accident. This has been a Republican-run state government for a number of years, and I'm very proud of it. I've had an opportunity to watch it on transportation. I've had a chance to share it in the Texas Senate for the last 12 years. The Republicans want a good economic development plan. They want to create jobs. They want to educate people. They want low taxes, low regulations, things like that. Almost just the opposite, as you know, our other party wants to do. If they had their way, we would not even be drilling out there. We would be trying to preserve prairie chickens, things like that. And we do. We still try to preserve them. But the regulations and taxes, as Congressman knows, really got the country going again. And that oil find in Permian is amazing. And so it's Texas Republican led, and it's not an accident. We've got to keep it going. We know this is one of the more Republican areas of the state. Senate District 3 goes not only here, but goes further north from here, as it was mentioned. And for the first time since year 2000, a Democrat has decided they want to run for the seat. It's been almost 18 years. Absolutely, you know, I can't wait to talk about the differences, what we believe in and what they believe in, because I know this particular district is going to be Republican. But the first thing I thought was, I know this is a Republican district, but how Republican is it? And so usually you go back in time to the last governor's race, where you have a lot of statewide, you look at each different level and you start comparing it. Well, I didn't have that. That was 4 years earlier. So I went back to the next best thing, and that was the presidential race of Hillary Clinton and Trump. And I figured if you voted for Hillary Clinton, you must really be a Democrat. If you voted for Trump, you got to be a strong Republican. And this Senate district was 78% Trump. 78% Trump. I thought, that is awful high. I know these people are pretty conservative, want conservative government. That is awful high. Maybe I made a mistake. So I started doing the runs for the other 30 Senate districts, using that as a definition of who's more or less Republican. I had to go all the way to West Texas, Dr. Wilkerson, to find somebody that was 77. It was Charles Perry's district out in West Texas. I had to go that far away, wait, the other side of 35. Then I found a couple of 76s, then 72s and 60s. And then as I began creeping, those districts began creeping toward the urban areas, and you know where they are, the 4 major urban centers, it started going the other way. And as I hit the outskirts of some of these areas, then in some of the districts, like up in the Dallas area, where Senator Don Huffines, Republican State Senator, his district actually voted for Hillary, 5%. Connie Burton's, it was a tie, basically. Senator Huffines was just a couple of points Trump. And that was before they got ticked off. That was before Trump won. They thought Hillary was going to win, so they weren't all that activated. Now they're really mad. And after the Kavanaugh thing, we're mad and they're mad. And so, I'm telling you, in these urban areas of the state, they have been registering, and they're not registering Republicans to vote. They're registering Democrats to vote. And they intend to go get out the vote. And so if we're going to maintain our position on our statewide races, which is extremely critical, we in these areas like Montgomery County, Senate District 3 and 4, West Texas, and some of the suburban Republican areas, we're going to have to squeeze more juice out of the system to overcome all those new registered voters they have. And so I encourage you to get out and make sure your neighbors vote, make sure they're registered, all those kind of things, because I think it really is needed. I have never seen anything like it since I've been in the Texas Senate. And when Christy Craddock stood up here and said, does anybody remember the first statewide Republican elected in Texas? I don't know if any of y'all heard it. I said John Tower. I was John Tower's campaign chairman in Cherokee County back when that happened. And all my friends told me I was crazy, because in my home county, you could not even vote in a Republican primary. There was no Republican primary. That was only in the big cities where they had those kind of things. But I was his chairman, and then Phil Graham's chairman behind that. And so some people say they switched. I never did. I've always been a Republican since the old days. But the message is, Texas Miracle, unless all of you get the vote out, and that's the intent of the meeting this evening. So did they say Judge Toole is here? Yes. Thank you, Judge. Appreciate working with you. And Judge Mack, I think he already left. I think he's getting ready for breakfast. And Constable Cash, I saw him a while ago. There he is over there. Anyway, thank all of y'all. Thank all of y'all for being here this evening. And get out and vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator, for those great words of warning. We understand that in Montgomery County. And we have to go back to 1994. It was the last time a Democrat was elected to an office in Montgomery County. And no Democrat candidate for president has won Montgomery County since 1968. And we have a great record. You would wonder about the record when you hear some of our critics, but this is a great county. And our Republican workers have done a tremendous job. And I just wanted to mention to you that if you want to see something to raise your level of confidence, you come to the Republican headquarters. Come in there and sit there for an hour, 45 minutes. It is a busy place. We'll have distributed over 2,000 cruise yard signs by the end of this week. We have 50 dedicated headquarters volunteers that a lot of our critics have failed to recognize. These wonderful people who are there every day, Monday through Friday. And I'm usually there, sometimes not at 9 o'clock. But I can tell you that my day is spent either talking on the phone or talking to voters that come to the headquarters. And it is an uplifting experience to come see what is happening. We have people come in and they just want to do something. Here's a check for $100, or here's another check. And we have a young man, I call him young because compared to me he's young, that is the best sign picker upper and deliverer to Dean Johnson that we ever have had. And last Friday morning, we had 300 yard signs for crews. When the headquarters closed that afternoon, we had 49 left. So we had to send our picker-upper to Huntsville, and he really, besides being strong and able to get signs, he actually talked the printer out of another 100 signs. Instead of the 300, now we have 400. I want to recognize several people here, but in particular, I want to recognize Dorothy Woodall, who's the chairman. If you are one of our headquarters volunteers, please stand, would you? And they will confirm to you what I've said. If you want to be certain that I'm not telling the story, you can ask any one of them. It is an uplifting sight to see, and I'm a blessed man to have the kind of people that are willing to give of their time and help with this effort. We're going to carry this county. Ted Cruz is going to win this county. And he's going to win by a substantial margin. And so we are going to make up for what we can't get out of some of these other places. So thank everybody for being here. Those that contributed to this went to purchase our door hangers and our push cards, and we have cruise signs out here. We have a lot of door hangers that you can pick up. When people come to our headquarters and get a sign, we say, here, take some of these door hangers and put them on the doors of your neighbors so that you can be sure that they know what's at stake. So I want to thank everybody for being here, and have a good evening. Thank you very much. to leave on a good note. And Jim Frederick is going to lead us in God Bless America. Let's y'all stand.
All right, let's make this a prayer, okay? Because that's really what it's intended as. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the valleys, to the oceans, wide below. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Amen.
Feel free to visit. We have some